Oh, there we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canon Creative Studio. We got an amazing panel coming up. We got some seats here in the front row. Come snag them. We promise it is not the splash zone. No one will get injured or damaged, so please come up and take a couple of seats. Or not. You can just ignore me. That's fine. I will take it personally. I have somebody writing down names right now. Nope. Okay. All right. We're going to get started here. So everybody shut up back there. Yeah, I said it. I did it. Nice. Very well played. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Jay Holben. I am an associate member of the American Society of Cinematographer, and I am also the contributing editor for American Cinematographer magazine. And it is my pleasure to host this panel on Paralyzed by... I almost said Paralyzed by Fear. I don't know why that stuck in my head. It's Paralyzed by Hope. It's the other way around. The Maria Bamford story. So thank you for coming to the Canon Creative Studio. And on behalf of American Cinematographer, we're happy to do this and introduce Neil and Amanda, the film's director and cinematographer and producer.
Thank you for having us. Very nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Tell us about the film. What is this?
The movie is about a stand-up comedian named Maria Bamford, who some people know, some people don't. I co-directed the film with Judd Apatow. Maria is on a lot of lists of the greatest ever. She's on a lot of comics, Mount Rushmore, and Judd's been wanting to make a movie for a while, and he called me one day, and this is why Canon cameras are great. He called me one day and said, "What do you think about Maria Bamford?" And I said, "She's incredible." And he said, "What do you think about making a documentary about her?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Okay, let's go to her house tomorrow and bring your little camera and we'll just start." And so I literally did that. The first day, I have a Canon C80 with all the audio. I call it my little dock in the box. And I went over there by myself, or there was a sound person that day. And it was one of those horrifying moments where you've never been to a place and you walk in and Maria's house has very bright yellow walls with extreme southwest light pouring into the living room. So it was like the worst situation to try and start shooting, but had no choice, so we just did it. And that's how pretty much every shoot went. Every shoot was like not knowing at all what we were walking into.
And you've got a long relationship with Judd, right?
Socially, yeah. We've never worked together. I know him as a friend, and he hit me up on Twitter when I made a movie about Gilbert Gottfried, whose wife and daughter are right there. And he hit me up and saw that and said, "Let's find something." And this was the thing we found.
And how often do you have experiences where come show up tomorrow for a brand new project?
No, I mean, maybe an idea. Oh, actually, that's not true. I met Gilbert and his wife, and about 6 months later, she said, "If it's just you, maybe he won't notice you're around, so come on out." And so I basically moved to New York and lived with Gilbert. That was a week later. I went to New York and just started shooting. So it's not the first time.
Oh, great. So there's a precedent for last-second productions. I love it. It's amazing. Amanda, how did you get involved in this project?
Judd Apatow called me up about a little over a year ago and said, "I really want to finish this doc because they've been shooting since 2022. Can you come help do that? Can you help get an edit open and see us to the finish line?" So that's how I came in. And I only knew Maria Bamford as the Target lady. She did these amazing commercials, you might remember, where she's like doing sit-ups on the red Target balls and running with the cart piled high with products behind her, like very manic. But then once I started learning more about her, I became her number 2 fan after Judd.
But there were a lot. I mean, there were 8 people, I think, that worked on the movie the whole time. And there were days where I would know I had to shoot, probably be by myself, and Amanda would show up, and I'd say, "Okay, Amanda, you're running sound," and Ani Spacek, who was also here, I'd say, "Ani, you're running this camera. Here's the button that makes it record. Here's the button that makes it brighter," whatever, and we would just go for it. That happened all the time.
Okay, that speaks a little bit to the gear, the fact that you just hand it over to somebody and they...
It does, yeah.
Intuitively, right?
Yeah, I love. This is my 5th or 6th feature that I've shot with Canon cameras, going back to the Canon Vixia camcorder. That I just told the story. My first movie was at South by Southwest, and I shot it with a little Canon Vixia camcorder that's like the size of a Coke can. and I was at it was the day of the premiere, and I was at the Canon booth, and the sales guy was there, and he said, "Oh, did you use a Canon camera?" And I said, "Yeah, I used one, but it's not here." And he said, "Oh, what was it?" And I said, "The Canon Vixia." And he looked at me and he goes, "Why did you do that?" I was like, "Oh, worked out. Here we are."
I did that because you didn't give me a better one, right?
Or a cheaper one, or one that I didn't. I think I just pointed at it and said, "I'll take that one."
Yeah, but I'll just echo that. Having not shot since film school, which was a long time ago without aging myself, and I was shooting on 16 millimeter film, and I have not really touched a camera since. So when Neil started asking me to shoot, I was very, very nervous about it. And the Canon products, not to be an ad salesman here, but the Canon products made it so easy, like the peaking so that you could see the focus and everything, and it's all on the screen. I just, like, within one day, I was like, oh, I can do this every time. This is not a problem.
Yeah, I'll sell the products. I love them.
Well, that's good. We do have a big banner right behind our heads here for the company.
Yeah.
So
And my dear friend Shauna.
I love Shauna. She's amazing. Amanda, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I started in scripted, and about 10 years ago, I accidentally fell into documentary filmmaking with no intention to stay into it. Actually, one of the directors of my scripted films is here. I haven't seen you in a long time, but I did 1 week on a documentary that turned into 3 months, and now 10 years later, I have been in the space ever since, and I love it so much. I get to work with people like Judd and Neil and Davis Guggenheim and Rory Kennedy, and I could not be more thrilled with where this path has taken me.
And Neil, how about yourself? What would your background?
I sort of faked my way into it. My first movie was about a friend of mine, a guy named Wayne White, who I was working with, and it turns out he made Pee-wee's Playhouse and Beekman's World and all these shows that I loved. And I said, "Hey, can I make a little short film about you?" And I interviewed him, again, by myself with that little dumb camera. And when we were done, I said, "I think you're a movie. Can I follow you around?" And that's where I got a bag and a camera and sound and just followed him around for a year and a half. And that became my first movie, Beauty is Embarrassing. And from there, it was just, again, like finding things. Rarely working for hire, getting paid to do it, like, but always just finding a story and being able to have a little small thing and go get it.
One of the things that's terrifying about documentaries is the elongation of the production process.
Yeah.
Right. This was how many years?
3 years. Yes, that is terrifying. Thank you for acknowledging that. No, there's always this thing in the middle where you're like, this is the worst idea I've ever had. This is going to ruin my career. But then something always unlocks and something always happens. And with the Maria doc, it was Judd saying, "Amanda, you and James Lesh, let's get this done," and just forcing us to be in a room and make it happen. And that was the real turning point for this movie. But yeah, there's always this terrifying moment where you think, this is a bad idea. I've wasted a lot of time and other people's money. But you get past it, and then you come to Sundance, and it's like it never happened.
Tell us a little bit, without giving away too much, about the evolution of this story and what the film covers.
So Maria is a comedian, a stand-up comic her act is really telling her story. She'll, if you look up right now, you'll know she's had bipolar, OCD, suicidal ideation, lost both her parents, all these really impactful things. But what she does is when they happen, she gets through it and then goes onto a stage and talks about it and makes jokes. And she has a really rabid, devoted following of fans that love her for doing that. And so that's really what the movie is. It's how someone can go through all of those things, survive them, turn them into comedy, and then that, how that resonates with the people that sit in a small room and watch her do it. If you look online right now, if you don't know Maria Bamford, you'll be shocked to see that she's on these lists of like the 10 greatest alive right now. So it'll be Chappelle and Seinfeld and Chris Rock and then Maria Bamford. So that's really the story, is how this woman has survived in comedy and life and overcome really, really challenging obstacles and made jokes about it.
Yeah, I have to say that I knew nothing until I saw the doc. But I thought some of the voices that speak in the doc about her so lovingly, Stephen Colbert and Conan O'Brien and Zach Galifianakis, set her at a bar
Yeah.
for me to start to understand where she plays in this world.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a thing going on right now where there's all these lists of like who's the greatest alive and who's the best at doing it, and then like Patton Oswalt and Mark Maron are going on podcasts saying no, Maria Bamford's the best. She's the best alive right now. And if you don't know her, I've never seen her work or know her name, it's kind of like, wait, who's this person? So that's really the point of the doc, and I think why Judd wanted to make it is just to because he has the platform, he can put things out there and make things like, no, pay attention to this woman who's doing amazing work.
And we talked about this a little earlier. The film starts with Judd sitting down with Maria and handing her some cash.
Yes.
And paying her for the interview. And I thought it was hysterical because my initial reaction was, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Don't do that!" And then he completely acknowledges, maybe I'm an idiot, maybe this is wrong, and it sets a tone for the whole thing that really is perfect.
Do you want to do the asterisk, the caveat?
It is an archival fee, a well-accepted form of compensating people for their archival materials and documentaries.
Yeah. Maria has this thing where in showbiz, a lot of things get going and they never go anywhere. Like, especially if you're a performer, someone says, "Hey, will you be a part of my thing for free and I'll give you a piece of the back end," whatever. And she's been through that so many times. So she thought, well, at least I should get compensated for this afternoon of doing whatever you need me to do today. But here's the truth. So, yes, in the movie, you'll see an exchange of cash. But that money goes in her pocket and then right out again. She gives it to people on the street. She gives it to the barista. Hardly any of that money goes into her bank account. It just goes back out again.
Yeah, she said she was handing it out to food vendors in her neighborhood recently.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. And you're paying it forward.
Yeah. I say what you will about it, but yes, she gave us her time. She gave us her story. I think it's fine to pay her for her photos.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very complicated topic, but documentary subjects do give so much time and energy and access, and you ask, it becomes a full-time job for them. So I think there needs to be a much larger conversation about compensation for them, and I know that people are starting to talk about that.
I was trying to get Henry Rollins to sit down for something one time, and I emailed him, and he wrote back this very long email about why he would be incredible in this movie, the stories he knows, the things he can talk about. At the bottom he said, "So for an afternoon of my time, I'll do it for $5,000. And I called him and I was like, "What?" And he said, "Look, man, I'm in 8 documentaries right now. 2 of them have sold for millions of dollars, and I'm in the trailer." It's like, I should get something for that, right? So, yeah.
It's a very interesting conversation to have, and I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but paying somebody to tell their story seems controversial.
I think, again, she did also give us licensed material that what we use, but I don't know if it's paying her for her story. I think it's just paying for us to come into her house and interrupt her day. The story's not going to change because for any other reason, but just to stop down her life and give it to me so I can improve my career. That's sort of where I am on it.
And $500, I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It's really more of a consideration.
Yeah.
But Amanda, also on talking about the story, you were kind of brought in along with James, the editor, to find where the story was and how to close out this particular project.
Exactly, and so we had, years of footage at that point, plus all of the archival. So it was a race for James and I to familiarize ourselves. And I want to shout out to the other producer that can't be here today. He wanted to join but is sick, but David Heiman, who was an amazing partner in this, and has been on it since 2022, along with Neil. So I just became so absorbed in it and was so excited to learn about this fascinating woman that is so amazing. And we were mostly remote with our edit, but we did try to have in-person edit days as much as we could. And I think that was really helped with the productivity. Judd bouncing in, I would be there. We have a producer, Olivia Rosenblum, who's really helpful with the story. And so it was just the teamwork to push through that mountain of material and feed James, but he also did a lot of it on his own.
What was your role in that process? That seems like a really lame question, but I mean,
Basically what you do is it's a series of deciding where things are in the middle and where they end. You know, the movie, when you watch it, the third act is very current times. I mean, her father passes away. I'm not giving it any away. And she lived in Altadena in Los Angeles where all the fires were happening. So that's all part of our story. So it's really just sitting with the editor. And a big part of the movie, the magic of the movie, I think, is that all of her very dark, scary stories are immediately brought to the stage and you hear jokes about them. So it was like, how do we tell her story and how do we go through these big beats in her life? But then also, how do we show the jokes that came out of that? Like there are some really dark, sad moments that are, you laugh out loud, crazy, right after they happen. And it's really wonderful, especially to be in a room with 500 people having that experience. So that was the biggest thing, is how do we take her story, how do we take her jokes, and how do we meld them all together and give it a satisfying arc?
And then you do just ultimately have to decide, okay, we're done.
That's
you
true,
know?
yeah.
Because her life is still going, but I think her arc, and don't want to give anything away, but I think her arc becomes complete over the course of the film, and she's still out there, and maybe there'll be a sequel someday.
I love the nervous laugh to that. Like, there is a filmmaker, and I can't remember who it is, said to me many years ago that projects like this are never finished, they're abandoned. Right? There's a point at which you just have to stop and let it get released.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's also weird when it gets into Sundance, it's like, hey, we're done. And you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess we are done. Let's wrap it up. Abandoned, I've heard that, but it is like, we could keep going, but this feels... she had also gone through a lot of growth, and she was able to handle things at the end in a more responsible, manageable way. So it was kind of showing this person that went through all these things and along the way picked up information and drugs and psychologists that can help her out. And by the end, she does feel sort of fully formed and able to handle these things. So that was like, okay, I think we feel like a satisfying place in her life where we can step back and just show the world.
And she also makes a lot of her own content. She's made multiple web series. I feel like we will be hearing a lot more from her. So the end of the film is really not the end.
Yeah.
We talked previously about the difficulty of covering stand-up comedy. In a stand-up comedian's performance, there's a warm-up to the audience, there's the whole process of the routine, and you now have to truncate those elements in order to show them.
Yeah.
How did you approach that challenge? It's
really hard. Like, one of Judd's mandates from the very beginning was we have to show that she's funny. Like, we have to show that she's one of the funniest people on the planet. And it sounds easy to say just to do that, but it is hard to cut stand-up comedy into a doc. Because if you go to someone's show and it's 20 minutes or an hour, jokes have the context of the jokes around them. They've got all this setup. Some jokes are long and have 3 or 4 tags at the end. So deciding, like, okay, what's the best part that serves our story, but how do we not show it without killing the joke, like making her look not funny because we made this joke clunky. But in this movie, there's 2-minute long jokes. There's a set right in the middle of it where she goes on James Corden. The ending of the movie is a whole set. So there's a lot of stand-up comedy in this movie, and a lot of it was just, instead of trying to massage it or tweak it, let's just show it. So that was kind of how we handled a lot of the jokes in this. Let's just show the whole thing and see how it goes.
And her stage performance or persona is so manic.
That's her.
that yeah. How do you follow that? How do you keep up with that energy?
That's her. That's her. It's funny. Dara Gottfried said that she could see. Like, I guess I have a signature way I do this, and getting in the room and where I live and film these things. But yeah, she is manic and she moves around a lot, but it wasn't that difficult with her.
Okay.
I was there. I agree.
Yeah, I tend to just find a spot off to the side and just put a camera on their heads.
Yeah, I mean, people were yelling at Neil sometimes, but he just went for the shot.
Yeah.
Rules go out the window.
Yeah.
What do you mean yelling at Neil?
Oh, like get out of the way?
Well, we were filming live performances.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, if he went on stage,
yeah, you're always
maybe you're not supposed to be doing that, but we had to get the shot.
Yeah, there's one particular place in LA that we've shot a lot, and I won't name check, but they get harassed by the fire department a lot, and cameras are the worst thing. The fire department hates cameras because we have tripods and we're in fire lanes and we're always in the way. So that's a very challenging place to shoot.
Well, okay, that's a great segue back into cameras because you are a Canon guy.
Yeah. That place is actually a place where there are places where I'm not allowed to shoot, but the last time we shot there, I was in that place where I could go, and I felt a hand moving me into the place where I was not allowed to go, and it was Judd just moving my body where he wanted me to be.
That's great.
Yeah.
What did the Canon tool give to you on this particular production that was beneficial?
Comfort. It's comfort. I'm so comfortable with that camera. I know where everything is. I know how heavy it is. I know how long I can hold it in my hands and just be there. I use a Cowboy Studio, and if you look that up, you'll laugh at me. DPs hate that I use this thing, but it's a little plastic wishbone that holds it against your body, and I know how long I can live with that thing before I start shaking. And I just know that camera so well. I don't have to think at all. Once I land at a spot, I can open my Pelican and bust it out and be rolling in 5 minutes.
And truly, I mean, like, when I showed up for the first shoot, I'm used to, like, oh, I'm the producer, I'll be at monitor, this is going to be great. And I was like, oh, literally it's only Neil.
Yeah.
And he's doing the interview, he's shooting, he's operating 2 cameras, he's listening to sound. So it was very impressive. And he would show up with like 2 Pelicans and a duffel bag full of lights. I was like, well, I can build the light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
not
so cool.
I'm not a DP. I get cinematography credit because I asked every DP I know what I should get. There's some training involved in being called a DP, and I know where lights are, and I know how to get some modeling and set up a shot. I'm not a DP, but I am very comfortable, especially in Verite with this camera, because yeah.
And you're doing the work. You're asking the questions. You're talking to
I'm also listening
DPs
to the sound and asking questions, and actually.
Yeah, but you're also doing the work about learning the craft.
Yeah. I'm trying.
I've certainly met a lot of DPs that shouldn't have that title, but I would not necessarily say that about you.
Thank you.
How do you approach Verite as a general concept?
Verite to me is listening. That is the number one thing. Anytime I see an operator that I can clearly tell they're not listening, because the whole point of being there is to capture what happens. And if you're listening what people are saying, you'll know when the next thing is going to happen. Especially when you're in a room with people having a conversation. You have to listen to what they say, and you have to anticipate what this person might say so you can have a lens on it. And the next thing, this is all very technical stuff, but I also tell people that are operating to look with your eyes before you look with your lens. So many people are always trying to find a shot with their lens. You know, where is this thing? But if you, this Canon camera that's so small and you have it in your hands, you can look up and you can look around and see, oh, there's the thing happening there, and then go there. But to me, the first part of operating in Verite is being able to listen.
Yeah, I have to say, in my experience, early as a cinematographer operating on documentaries, what changed for me was being able to have a comtech. To be able to hear the talent was a whole game changer that I hadn't experienced in the first couple of productions that I did.
Yeah. I mean, a great example of watching, looking with your eyes is, this story's gonna sound weird nowadays, but I was in Chicago with Gilbert Gottfried, and there were people dressed as Nazis. Like it was like a weird costume thing that we were there, and one of them kind of you'll see in the movie, one of them sneaks up behind him to get his autograph. And I saw him there. It was a cosplay thing.
But who?
Very different context now.
Who makes that choice?
It was more ironic back then, 5 years ago. But yeah, I saw this guy sneak up behind Gilbert to get his autograph, and that's when I moved the lens up to get it. Sorry to bring up the N-word.
That's okay. That's something that just doesn't age well, no matter what time period you're in. But it's a great thing to bring up, the awareness of what's around you and not getting, myopic.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. If you're shooting Verite, your goal is to get the whole world and wherever things happen. And if it happens over there, you have to know someone's talking about something, or have to be able to see something. So it is as much as it is like knowing how to get the right depth of field or get the right white balance. Sure, you want to make sure the shot looks good, but you also want to make sure you get the shot and you've hit the button before it happens.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
What lens do you find yourself using more than any other?
I honestly, like, I like the small EF zooms for Verite. I don't love shooting Verite with primes. I will do it at times, but if there's more than one camera, I'll definitely try and do primes. But if I'm by myself, I try to get a long zoom. And I just shot with the 24 to 105, the 2.8, and I loved it. That lens is great, nice and small and light. So yeah, I like zoom or primes because they're light, but when you're by yourself, you end up like running around a lot and trying to get close.
That's a conversation I have with a lot of cinematographers, especially with documentary. What is your general approach to? Do you use a longer focal length further away from the subject, or?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's why like the 24 to 105 was always a bummer because it was just a 4. This is super. Does everyone know I'm talking about aperture? It was just a 4, and that was always like it had the throw you wanted, but it didn't have the depth of field you wanted. It wasn't shallow, so that new one is great. But yeah, I do like to be farther away and zoomed in, like to the end of my lens, a lot of the time. Obviously, if you get a 2-shot, getting closer and go wider, but I'm usually backed off pretty far and at the end of my lens.
Yeah, I think that there's a whole different philosophy of giving distance to the subject,
Yeah.
or being very intimate with the subject.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of DPs or a lot of directors these days are shooting just with a 35 prime and getting as close and shooting full frame and having to get really close. That to me is you're too in the thing that's happening. I don't love doing that. I mean, even if you can back out and get out of a doorway and do that's better for me. Verite, yes, shotgun mic. Like, so when I shot with Maria and Gilbert, I would hang a lav on them and attach that lav to the handle on the camera and monitor that way, but with a shotgun, which is very scary because you're like very afraid you're getting garbage audio. But interviews, no, we'll tie a shotgun and hang it above them. Classic.
That was a new addition, right? I think when
that was a newer
we started,
addition. Yeah.
we didn't have that,
was,
and suddenly it's like, oh, now we have a boom.
For sure, shotgun on the mic, which I know a lot of DPs. When I work with DPs a lot, there's always Verite involved, and they hate having to do that, or they hate having to know it's on there. But I convince them all to do it. But yeah, shotgun. It is and it isn't. Like Maria, there was never a budget per se. It was let's start, and I always have that in the back of my mind, and I know where the money's coming from or not coming from. So in my head, it's like, okay, there may be dozens and dozens of shoots, but they can't all be expensive. And maybe that's a weird way of thinking about it, but I do try to make sure I shoot every one in a way that's not so expensive that I can't shoot 10 more. Does that make sense? Even on my stuff, like in my stuff, I try to keep it. I made this with Judd Apatow, so the stuff I do on my own, I try to keep it as small as possible because there might be, like with Gilbert, I shot for a year, and I shot dozens of stand-up comedy shows, and I travel with him and live with him, and I didn't know how long that would last. So I couldn't spend a bunch of money, and it was just me that technically that's free, to an extent. So yeah, I just try to keep it small so it's not so no one ever says, hey, you got to stop spending all this money.
But also, I think, because I come from higher production value docs, and this has been a really incredible experience to see how Neil works, and I feel like we're going back to the roots of documentary filmmaking, and it's so important right now as budgets are contracting, but also just in terms of being in the space and not having a ton of people there, like the intimacy you create a connection with the subjects, and like even with just someone who's coming to sit for an interview for one day, it's like, oh, this is comfortable. I don't have 10 strangers staring at me.
Yeah. Some of these sets can be a lot of people, more people than. Yeah, when it gets to be a lot of people, it's like, are we getting into someone's life or are they getting into our world?
Exactly.
That's a great way to put that. Actually, I've never heard it said like that before.
I've never said that before. That was the first time I've ever.
But it's definitely exactly what it is.
Somebody write that down because that was really good.
Credit and put my name under it.
Yeah, because I think documentary has evolved, and this is not most of my past work has been in the space where it's all about getting beautiful cinematography, and there's, again, nothing wrong with that. That's a great form, but it's not always right.
I see so many directors right now, several young directors that are so conscious of what it looks like and spend so much time composing a shot. But you missed what happened. Yes, it's beautiful, but did you get what you needed? So,
I've also worked with DPs that bum rushed the door, and I'm like, wait, we haven't even said hello, and they're already got the camera up, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness, so you can go too far the other way.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the contraction of budgets. I want to talk a little bit about the current state of the documentary industry and where we think we are and what's happening.
Well, I hope I don't get myself in trouble for saying anything, but I think we've had a real golden age of documentaries. I was lucky to enter at the beginning of that. Chef's Table had just come out and changed the form, and I've been lucky enough to work with those guys. And Netflix and all the other streamers have really poured a lot of funding into this, but now the market is shrinking. There's consolidation and where you can show this stuff. Audience expectations are higher, but the budgets we're getting are lower, and so we're really stretching to try and create the same content that we have been making for a lot less. And I think that it leads to projects like this, which is great, but it also leads to projects not getting made, which is a real bummer.
Yeah, I think, so when I started, it was a lot like now, where there weren't a lot of buyers. There's like 3 buyers now. When I started, it was HBO and PBS, if you were selling a doc, and theaters were a thing. So the buyer number has gone back to, we've reverted to the mean there. The thing that is different now that I don't like is every idea gets filtered through the political environment, the environment of what's being bought. It used to be you had an idea and you could pitch it and go for it. Now you'll always hear someone say, well, who's going to buy that? Or can you sell that now? Or is this going to piss off somebody somewhere?
Who's the audience?
Yeah, that filter, it's unconscious now. You do it without even talking about it. I don't like that part of where we are right now.
Yeah, but like 2 films that came out of last year's Sundance, Come See Me in the Good Light and Perfect Neighbor, both just got nominated for Oscars. Incredible films, and maybe films that you wouldn't have thought could get made.
We also just nominated Come See Me in the Good Light for an ASC award.
Oh,
yeah, great.
Well deserved. I'm good friends with
Amazing.
Brandon, the DP on that.
Yeah, so come vote for Brandon. Well, come root for Brandon.
Am I allowed to?
You're not allowed to vote, but you can root for him, sure.
I will root for you,
All right,
Brandon.
But I think that there's also...
Oh, and he shot that film, a lot of it on cell phones.
Very true, yes.
Huge majority on cell phones.
Yeah. There's I just got derailed. Hi, how are you? My name is Jay Holben. No, in the realm of documentaries, not only is there a breakdown of limited buyers, but there's this concept of second screen, where we're sort of dumbing down the stories that we're telling.
Yeah, I haven't. I've heard about these notes of like remind the audience what they're watching. I've heard of that. I haven't seen that. There's other things you're asked to do to make sure and on its face, if you wrote it down, it's let's make sure they're interested in your movie, and this is what we found works. So the note's not a negative note or a bad note to get. It's just this is what they believe in. So there's some of that, but the second screen thing, I haven't gotten a lot of those notes.
Yeah, me either. But there's definitely, as you were saying, things that they want to do to keep the audience engaged. Like if you don't capture them within the first 5 minutes, you're gonna have drop off, and then they look at their algorithm, and then you start to get notes that feel like, is this right for this film, or was it right for other films that are completely different?
That said, I think you should always trust your audience, and we have a movie called Paralyzed by Hope about Maria Bamford that does not have any sort of super tease at the beginning, has no music in the whole thing.
No music.
And these are all things that were we commissioned by someone to do it, we would never be allowed to do. And people love it. And when we ask audiences, what do you think of the music, or no music, they don't care. Yes, thank you. Tweet that.
And you're a big music guy.
Yeah. So again, like, there's a little like, hopefully this is proof somewhere down the line that these experiments, these outside the box things work, and audience will go for it if they like your movie.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most fascinating things with working with Judd, I'm across multiple projects, and we had one about Mel Brooks come out this week. We have one about another comedian coming out later this year, and he took such a different approach with each one, and I just love that with Maria. It feels so authentic to her.
Yeah.
That is, I would have to say, part of the charm of the doc is that it feels authentic to her story and the way that it was shot, the scrappy nature of it,
super
the
scrappy.
way it was edited.
Yeah. I mean, like we didn't. we didn't like kill ourselves with the photo animations or graphics. It was just like, let's just put it out there. It does feel very DIY. I told Amanda a while back, I said, I think this is Judd's like art school student film. You know, like it's very raw, very stripped down. It's just her story and her stand-up comedy. Like we don't get in the way of that.
And I think when you get a name like Judd attached to something, the immediate perception is that it's high budget and, you know, it's a crew of 100 people running around, and that really was not the case here at all.
And he loves this. He really, truly loves this. I mean, he'll pop by the set, and it'll just be the 3 of us, 4 of us.
Yeah, but there were probably days where he was on set with 30 people, and then the next day we would do something, and there'd be 2 people.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was there for both.
Yeah, but again, like this is something that we didn't know how long it would last. So there's a little bit of that. Like this could have become a high budget just by the nature of taking forever.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. And I shared with you that I had a documentary project that I was involved with for 10 years. And I think that it's far too easy to fall down the rabbit hole when you're following somebody as fascinating as Maria, knowing when to stop the story.
Yeah. And again, that's where Amanda was probably like, okay, let's wrap it up. And so there's the challenge of figuring out where is she in her life, and is this a satisfying ending, and is this a full arc? And I think we got there.
And I would not have stopped it if we hadn't. Story comes first.
Yeah.
Always. Thank you for saying that. But
Yes.
yes. The abandonment has to have a justification, right? You
Right.
still
Yes.
have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Does anybody else besides this incredibly prolific gentleman here
He's
have
the
a
biggest
question for
film
these two?
nerd.
Yes, please.
You started to talk about, paying talent, and it's not just their time on set. It's the 15 phone calls, and the 17 emails, and the scheduling.
And finding the archival from the attics of their parents and their siblings and their own and their friends. I mean, it takes an extraordinary amount of time.
I would much rather pay someone that brings me a box of family home videos than Viacom for a clip of Comedy Central.
But where is that line, the journalistic integrity?
I don't know.
So many people can say, oh, well, you're paying this subject, and of course they're going to essentially tell you what you want or your vision. You know what I mean? And then we're starting to see
I think if you sacrifice any of their objectivity, I think if they start to lean into what you need and give you something that will help if they're trying to like manipulate their story or manipulate the movie, that's obviously questionable whether they're paid or not.
Yeah, I think there's a very well publicized film that took that path recently. But I mean, it's a very complicated conversation, and I will just say I'm glad that we were transparent about it in the film.
Yeah.
I think that was important.
I just followed you guys from Salt Lake.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, hi.
I have 2 questions, if that's okay. I just love film so much, but when you were filming her, did you get to see her process? Because you were talking about how she had these horrible traumas in her life, and then she would just go perform them. Did you get to see that process?
So she'd be fine talking about this. People always ask, is there anything she wouldn't let you film? I got very interested in how she developed a joke, and it got to where she got nervous about me burning material that might become a special that she can get paid to do, but she also just felt like that was one thing that was very not private to her, but she said, I got into comedy so I could do this by myself. Like, I want to have these weird thoughts and I want to work through this all on my own. And that was one where she was like, do you mind not focusing on how I go from a crappy joke to a good joke? That was I saw a little bit of it, but not a whole lot.
I'm so interested about the emotional and mental process that took, because, like you said, it was so painful.
I think I've asked a lot of comics, like, what happens? And they say, well, you have a thing that you see and you go, oh, that's funny. And you write it in your phone, the thing that just happened. And then from there, it's like, okay, I'm going to say that in front of strangers. And then you go on stage and say it in front of strangers. And like, okay, here's where the funny part was. And you just chase that.
The other question I had was the no music. Was that a budget choice? Or
No, it was so we tried every kind of music, like jazz and everything, like indie rock, all of it, music and Maria do not match.
We brought in a composer. I mean, like,
Yeah, we
we
hired a
tried
composer.
hundreds of temp things. We brought in a composer to try stuff.
It was weird. It was so weird. Everything was like forced and goofy and felt like, oh, now we're telling you to feel like this. We want you to feel like this. It never just laid there and did nothing like a lot of score. Just be there. Never worked. And so finally, Jeb was like, okay, just cut without it. Just don't even do it. We'll do it later. And that's when we did hire a composer. And so he tried a bunch of tracks and was like, okay, this also doesn't work. So we just said, okay, this movie's not going to have music.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah. Like I called her husband and I was like, what does she listen to? And he goes, mostly like books on tape and podcasts. She doesn't really like music. We had to find it. She had just put a book out, so that was helpful. Lady Dynamite is about her life. That was helpful. So there was, and also like she's done tons of work where she talks about herself. The first thing we did was we went through all her shows, and we had an hour-and-a-half string out of jokes. That was her whole life. So it was like I was born in Duluth to where she is now, and then that was really like how
that was the first thing I watched when I started.
Yeah. That was like how we created a spine, and a lot of those jokes are a ton of those jokes are in the film right now. So that was our way of like arcing out her life using her own material. And then we would talk to her about these things and get interview and talk to her family and friends. Yeah, but that was the first thing we did is make a story out of jokes.
How much did the book play into your interviews and your discussions with her?
Quite a bit. I mean, there was, again, all of the stuff she'd been through, but there were obviously little details and little names that she would check in stories that we would learn from. And there is a little snippet from her book when she had a very dark moment where she got into a mental hospital a couple times. And coming out of that, we used the book to say what it felt like because that was the most authentic or most poetic version of coming out of that hard, dark space. But the book was a very great research guide to find out what else to talk about.
I think yes, please.
Oh, I just wanted to say that this is so fascinating when you do the docs about communities. Because I'm a doctor and I prescribe comedy to people to help them heal.
Great.
Even on hospice, like say good memories of their family. So when I was in my darkest times after a divorce, I took up stand-up myself because I wanted to see from a different point of view, right? So I love it that you're showing the dark, a little bit of the dark.
Yeah.
Because it's such a healing thing. So how did you decide which comedian?
Well, in this case, it was Judd just had a fascination with Maria. Had always wanted to do it with her, and I came along and could help him out. So that's really all it was. It's just Judd wanting to make something about Maria.
Oh, that's cool. Well, what I did was I just made a rom-com because I was like, my stand-up is so amateurish, but it's
Yeah.
fun. It
Yeah.
just helps you
Oh yeah.
a different point of view.
It's cathartic.
But I love what you're saying about being a doctor. Austin here sitting next to you just watched the film in Salt Lake, and on the car ride back, he said, you guys are like doctors for the soul.
We did the premiere or the screening she just saw. A woman said, "I'm a therapist," and everyone. That wasn't you, was it? Was that you? Okay. I'm a therapist, and this should go wide to anyone that's in pain. Had a very great way of putting it. And there was a guy who was had never heard of Maria, and was in tears, couldn't get words out, saying how he was just resonating with and connecting with so much that she had gone through, and so thankful. That's really touching. When someone says that, I never knew this person existed, and I'm crying because of what you put on screen just now. That's really, I got emotional. Amanda got emotional. That was amazing.
That's why we do this.
Yeah.
For sure, I think so many times mental health is depicted as the evil, the bad guy in a particular story, and you show how Maria takes her mental illness and uses it as a tool, not only for comedy but to communicate and
Correct.
to help others understand what's happening.
That's the thing. I think that there's a rote thing that stand-up comedians are dark, and they're scary people or sad clowns. Yes, they are. They go through, but we all are. Everyone's going through something. They get to go on stage and talk about it in front of people and make jokes and make a lot of money in some cases. That's the only difference. But then what happens is when they say it, someone in the audience that's going through it hears them say it, and they're not getting arrested, and they're not lighting on fire, and they're not getting carted off, and you go, oh, I can say this out loud too, and I could even laugh about it. Like that's the catharsis. That's where it works. But that's the only difference in comics and everyone else in the world, I think. They're just like us.
I'm not that funny, so I certainly can't pull that off.
But yeah.
For the Lady Dynamite show that she did that pretty much alone, right? I mean,
No. So there's two things that she did a YouTube series called the Maria Bamford Show. Maria Bamford Show, which she did do, but all by herself. And she had been diagnosed with OCD, so it was her exploring that. And the premise of this, before she had her breakdown, she gets sent back home and to get healthy. And she shot it, she performed every character. I think she edited herself. That was another version of that. But Lady Dynamite was a thing she did later on with Netflix and Mitch Hurwitz, the creator of Arrested Development. Similar stories, but big crew on the other one.
big crew, but feels very scrappy, independent.
The Netflix thing, it's pretty shiny.
Oh, all right.
They spent a lot of money on it.
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Never mind. Yes, please, in the back row.
I'm curious how, if at all, the story and the arc changed in the editing room versus what you initially had in mind.
It changed when her neighborhood burned down. She lived in Altadena when the fires happened, and that definitely. I'm not giving anything away, but yeah, because you find out she lives in Altadena in the first scene of the movie. But that was a big okay, this is another horrible thing that she's going through. How do we manage that? So that it changed because she was still living her life. Like her, I don't want to give it all away, but lots of things happened while we were shooting that we incorporated into the film. Yes. Yeah.
I'm Darren. I just wanted to say, two things. I'm like in the crack. I was so proud.
Oh, thank you.
So good. So good.
This is Dara Gottfried, Gilbert Gottfried's wife.
I was so proud of you. It was so amazing. But I also want to say, when you were talking about having a crew and just having you shooting, I can't imagine what it would have been like if it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
You followed Gilbert around, you got him to open up, you were able to create the film that you created because he had that connection with you, which I imagine Maria also, had that connection with you. We shot a reality show once and they had an entire crew and took over a whole apartment and Gilbert was in character the entire time.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it wasn't what you made.
Yeah. Thank you.
It wouldn't have existed if you didn't do it the way you did.
Thank you. Thank you.
That says a lot about.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very proud of that movie.
Now I got to go see that movie. I did get a chance to see this one, and yes.
I also made sure Gilbert ate and got to the show on time and got him. Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Don't be shy. I will only mock you a little bit. How many more times is it screening? Where is it screening? How can everybody get to see it?
So I think Thursday at Eccles, and I should know, Friday or Saturday at the Ray, maybe? Saturday at night. Do you know what theater? All right, check your Sundance app. It's great. But yes, definitely Thursday at Eccles. Last I checked, had tickets. Saturday's sold out. We've had sold out screenings. We've already had 3. It's been an amazing experience. I love Sundance. I love the audiences here.
Me too. This is amazing. My first time here. I told myself a long time ago that I wouldn't go to Sundance until I had a movie there. And it was a stupid thing to say out into my head, but I'm thrilled that I'm here at this one.
We're thrilled that you're here too.
Thank you.
And then post about us on social media.
Yes, please.
We are trying to sell it. So the more noise we get right now, the more likely it is that we will have a sale.
Yes.
And when you post about them, post about me too, so I can,
Support American
piggyback.
Cinematographer. It's really hard to be a journalist right now.
Thank you for doing this.
Hello.
I told everyone on the team, I was like, I love Canon. I'll do whatever. I want to meet them. I'm devoted.
That's great.
Yes,
That's
yes.
and he was not paid for that
No.
particular.
Yeah, I'm in. Thank you.
What's next for you?
I'm working on a documentary. I'm finishing a documentary about another comedian named Martin Mull. And I'm also working on a documentary about Gilbert's sister, Arlene Gottfried, who, Canon, you'll like this. She was a street photographer in New York in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, taking pictures of these Lower East Side poets. She joined a gospel choir and took photos of them all over New York, like the burned out, bombed out Studio 54, scary New York. Yeah, and Dara found a vault of photos and videos that no one ever. She was on stage at Woodstock with Jimi Hendrix, like this incredible life that not many people knew about. And so we're putting that together right now. We're finding people that were in the photos and people that were friends with her that no one even knew existed. So yeah, it's really incredible.
I love that, and I love your passion and your heart for that too.
Yeah. We're just doing that one. But if you have money and you want to pay for it, please. I'll be after the show.
There's a bucket in the back of the room.
We'll pass the hat.
And a Venmo.
Every dollar counts.
Yeah.
And Amanda, how about yourself?
We've got a lot going on. We just premiered The New Yorker at 100 on Netflix in December, so you can check that out now. We have a film about the 1972 Toronto production of Godspell called You Had to Be There. It premiered at TIFF. It'll be at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, and then hopefully you'll be able to see it this summer wider. But it was this incredible moment in time where all of these nobodies, they're 18 to 22 years old, never had a job, dropped out of college to go be in this musical, and it was Martin Short, Eugene Levy, and a million other famous, incredible Canadian comedians of the time. So that's a really special one. We've got another film coming out about a comedian later this year. That's not announced yet, and we are in production on several other films.
Judd is employing most of the documentary community right now. Thank God.
Thank you,
Truly.
Jen. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
This is a
Thanks
real
for having
pleasure.
us.
So fun. Thank
Congratulations
you.
on the film. Was that for them or me? I don't know. I'm going to take it.
It's definitely for Jay.
Thank you for all of you for being here.
Thank
on
you,
behalf
thank
of
you.
Canon American Cinematographer. Enjoy Sundance.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.